He can do amazing things. He's a miracle working God. I have experienced that. My family has experienced that. My community has experienced that. It is real. I came to the Lord from a very broken background in a very poor village, and people practiced animist, like worshipped spirits, witchcrafts, and we had a powerful witch doctor who lived on a mountain top, and he was related to us. And this witch doctor had power from the spirits. He was able to bring rain and stop rain. And when he cursed people, people died instantly. When he cursed the harvest, harvest dried up. So he had demonic power. Because he was related to us, my father was one of the people who served him. For example, my father was required to wake up every morning at around 5 o'clock and drink alcohol non-stop and smoke non-stop. And whenever my father missed any of those instructions, something tragic happened in our home, that a child with no sickness would die instantly. And it was a cursed home, a cursed family. When I was born, my parents did not give me a name because every child died. My parents had given up hope. So they did not give me a name because they thought I would also die. And in Ethiopia, when you give a name to a child, every name has a meaning. So when I was 4, my parents named me Bekele, B-E-K-E-L-E. That means sprouted or germinated. It's like there is life, there is hope in this child. So I was growing up, and when I was 5 years of age, the witch doctor asked my father, he said, I want you to train your son to serve me his entire life. So we were living under fear of death. It's a spiritually dark community. But God miraculously intervened into our life. One night, God decided to send 2 angels who came and sat down in front of my father at night, and they started teaching him about who the true God is. You know, the angels did not tell my father how he can get into heaven, but they said they would send 2 men. So 2 days later, these 2 men from another village, God sent them to come and tell my father that the only way he can get into heaven is if he believed in Jesus Christ, who is the Son of God, who came down to save sinners by dying on the cross. And some of the things they said, I still vividly remember. They said, if you believe in Jesus and deny demons, you will stop drinking alcohol. You will stop smoking. God will change your life. I stood up from where I was sitting, walked up to these 2 men who were still standing as they told us the good news. And I asked this question, do you mean my father would stop beating my mom if he accepted Jesus? They said yes. And I didn't know at that time what accepting Jesus meant. But I said, if my dad would stop beating my mom, I want to accept Jesus. I was the first one from my family to come to Jesus. And then the 2 men, they turned their attention to my dad and they said, what about you? And he said, I will also accept Jesus. So the same day, God's grace and mercy and the love came on our lives, on our family in a special way. And my father, my mother, my older sister, and myself, I was 5. The 4 of us accepted Jesus. And 2 days after accepting Jesus, another miracle happened to my father. My father had never been to school because we didn't have a school. He was completely illiterate, unable to read or write, and he was keeping cows alongside a river. And as he was walking with the cows, he finds on the ground a Holy Bible sitting. And we don't know from where that Bible had come from. My dad picked up the book. He didn't know what it was. He started opening through the pages. And then all of a sudden, he hears a voice saying, this is my word. He looks around to see who was speaking to him. There was no one. And then something in his heart said, go and sit down under the shade of a tree. So my father went and sat under the shade of a tree. He opened the book and he said, God, I can't read it. Can you help me to read this book? And he says, if I am able to read this book, I promise to teach this book my entire life. And immediately God opens the eyes of my father and he started reading the Bible. And he comes home that afternoon and he says, I want the whole village to come to my place. Because he was working with the powerful witch doctor, anything he asked, people did with fear. So the whole village of about 400 men and women showed up. He stood up, he told his story, and he invited people to accept Jesus. And that night, the entire village came into Christian faith. And God started working mighty, mighty miracles, revival, and sweeping throughout the villages, because God wanted to demonstrate to people who He is and how powerful He is, that He is the creator of the universe, and He is more powerful than any other God that people were worshiping. So many people were turning to Jesus and denying demonic power, the spirit world, their association with the witch doctor. So after preaching the gospel for about 37 years, nearly 4 decades, my father passed away. And what is a miracle is during the entire period, the only book my dad could read was the Bible. I gave him the Bible and any other book, and he could read the Bible, he could understand, he could teach, but he could not even show me a single letter in any other book. And I asked, Dad, what's wrong with you? The letters are the same. How can you read this and you cannot read the other one? He says, when I open the Holy Book, it's like somebody is holding a powerful torch over my head. And it's bright and I could see everything. But you give me any other book, it's dark, I can't. So that is my salvation story. And my tribe now, my tribe is about 1.5 million people in Ethiopia. It's called Kambata tribe. And about 97% are born-again believers. We have sent so many missionaries from my tribe to different parts of the country as well as outside the country. So I grew up in that family, experiencing the power of the gospel. It is real in my life. So I have experienced that. And anyone can experience that by knowing who Jesus is and by committing their lives to Jesus. The gospel of Jesus is powerful to transform lives. So my encouragement and my invitation to you as you listen to this testimony, to my story, is that just simply put your faith in Jesus and say, Jesus, I also want to experience your power. I also want to experience the power of the gospel. I want to experience that transformation. And it is real. You can experience that.